Welcome back to another Saxton podcast. That music means one thing. Happy Wednesday, Deuce. How are you?
I am hanging in there. I complained about the long weekend going back to work on the last podcast, but that also means a short week, so I can see Friday already.
Well, I don't know about you, but I am giddy like a little schoolgirl to talk about the NFL today.
So am I. It's finally hit me that Sunday is the day. I know there's a Thursday night game, but Sunday we get that 1 o'clock time where you just wake up and you know it's there. I made a tea time for early Sunday morning, so I get home, skip my spot on the couch, get my beer, and set up shop.
I made plans for my wife to get out of the house. Starting at 9 a.m., I told her don't come home till at least dinner time. She's taken the baby with her. I haven't decided if the oldest one is going. I'm going to run it by you. Should I take him to tailgate for the Eagles-Browns in Carson Wentz era?
And I think it's, how old is Braden now?
He's 3.5. He'll be 4 on Christmas.
I think he might need a year of what it's like to set up shop on your couch. I think the Eagles-Browns, that's the biggest dumpster fire you could take your kid to, maybe in the history of Week 1 football. I'm not sure if you want to set him up thinking that's what the NFL is.
I took him today to his first day at preschool, so he's getting to see the real good side of people with the kids talking to each other. I don't know if I could go to the other side of the spectrum with just animals running around a parking lot.
I think that's too early. I think you show them how to properly set up for a Sunday, how you set up your day, starting at 1 o'clock, going all the way, show them how to power through the 4 o'clock games, even if they're snoozers. I think maybe next year, once you know what you have with Carson Wentz, then maybe introduce them to the wild, wild west that is a tailgate.
I think I agree. Before we do get into the preview, one piece of news that we should pass along that you broke to me today. Why don't you give it out about the PGA Tour?
Yep, basically the PGA Tour, Tiger Woods, he is announced finally that he's coming back. He's planning to play the first leg of the Fall Series, which is the tournament in Napa. That's Johnny Miller's Silverado course. I think it's called the Safeway Classic now. It used to be the Fry's or something else. And then he's going to do the Turkey tournament. I think it's Hero or KLM. I can't remember which sponsor that is, but that's a pretty big tournament over there. They usually get a lot of good names. They pay big guys to go. And then he'll play the World Challenge event, which is one of his sponsored events down in the Bahamas. It's not an official tournament, but all the big names go. They just have a good time. It's kind of more of a fun event than a real event. So 3 sort of warm-up events, but that Safeway, the opening one, the Safeway, counts for next year's FedEx Cup points, so that will be a real live event. They usually get some pretty good names. I know Phil is already committed, so that will be when he returns.
I have to imagine that made Johnny Miller's magic underwear move.
Had to tickle the pants a little bit. I know a lot of people are sick of Tiger, sick of hearing about him. Don't care that he shoots 74, 75, whatever. I just don't think those people realize how big he is to the game. If you watched last year, we're talking about the Wyndham Championship last year when he was in contention. The fairways were lined 10 deep. No one else on tour does that. You can say whatever you want about Jason Day, Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson. The ratings prove it out pretty dramatically that if Tiger's there, the ratings soar, and if he's not, it doesn't matter who's playing. Golf is an average TV grab. So, huge news for golf in general.
So there's your golf news for the day. Let's hop into the NFL preview. We'll start Guess the Lines next week. You are the reigning champ in that. So I'm out to get you this year. And we'll start that next week for week 2.
You tried to come back on me last year, but I had to slam the door late in
We
the year.
will start in the AFC East. Give me your overall thoughts. We'll break it down. Give me an over-under you like. Give me if any coach is on the hot seat. and we'll get right into it.
All right, well, clearly this is the Pats division. It has been for the last 15 years, the Belichick-Brady era. I don't see any differences this year. I think they'll be fine with Garoppolo. They got a tough start on the road at Arizona. I think they dropped that game, but I think they can go 2-2 with Garoppolo at quarterback, especially those back-to-end games where he gets more comfortable. This is said to be one of the deepest New England rosters they've had in 10 years. They have depth, especially on special teams and on defense. I still worry about their pass rush a little bit. It seems like late in the year they have trouble generating that, but I think Brady is going to be in total FU mode when he gets back, and that's good.
Tommy!
So Tommy Brady, I think they take the division again, and I think it's probably a little easier this year than it has been in years past.
I'm with you. I agree with you. At worst case, they're 2-2 coming out of those first four. And then they get a layup for Tommy's return against Cleveland. And I think they get on a roll. When you look,
I have a question about that Cleveland game. What's the over-under number of touchdowns Brady throws that game?
I set it at 4.5.
I think he goes over that. I think he throws 5 or 6. I think Belichick tries to score 100 that game.
The biggest question will be, as always, will Gronkowski stay healthy?
Totally agree. I do like the addition of Martellus Bennett. I think that's a nice little safety blanket if Gronk does go down.
Over under 10.5.
That is, I lean the over, and that is my favorite AFC East lean, is the 10.5 over New England.
I also like the over. I do have something else I like a little bit more. Give me your thoughts on the rest of this division.
So the rest of the teams, let's start with the Jets. I like them right around 7-9, 8-8. If you forced me to pick something, I would lean the under. Love Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker combo. I think it's one of the more underrated wide receiver tandons in the league. Marshall is 32, getting up there. Basically, to me, it comes down to their quarterback. I think he's just an 8-8 guy. Fitzpatrick can't really win games for you. He can certainly lose them for you. They'll look great one week, not so great the other. So until they find a younger quarterback, a better quarterback, I think that's what they are, kind of that 7-9, 8-8, 9-7 team. I like the Bills. I like their offense. Hate their defense. Too many injuries for me. Rex Ryan might be the hottest coaching seat in the league. Like Tyrod Taylor, don't love him. I see them the same thing. I would lean the under with them, and I would definitely lean the under with Miami. Not a Ryan Tannehill guy. Don't like their weapons on offense except for Jarvis Landry, and I think they have a ton of questions on the back end of their defense, which is not really what you want in the division with Tom Brady.
When you look at those three teams, how can anyone in their right mind make a case that the Patriots are not winning this division?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I guess if someone really has some sort of argument that those first 4 games and Brady not being around the facility are somehow going to disrupt the flow and he won't be able to get in a rhythm, I don't know. Maybe I could see that happening for a half, but no idea. No idea how you make another bet in this division for another team winning it.
Jets went 10-6 last year, which means Ryan Fitzpatrick went 10-6 last year. There is no way on this earth that Ryan Fitzpatrick will go 10-6 this year. Looking at that schedule, Cincinnati to start the year, short week at Buffalo, at Kansas City, Seattle, at Pittsburgh, at Arizona, Baltimore at home. That has under 7.5 written all over it. That is my pick for this division, under 7.5, the Jets. Buffalo, I got an over-under for you. Rex Ryan and Rob Ryan, 2.5 over-under sideline spats.
Ooh, that's a good one. I actually lean under because I think they have a similarly tough schedule right out of the gate. I could see them being 2-8-ish and them not being around past that. So I'll take the under there in a surprise surprise move because I don't think they're going to be there that long.
Good point. I think the team that will finish second is those Miami Dolphins because of what we just talked about with Buffalo and the Jets. Only by default. I think Gase will vastly help Ryan Tannehill. I don't love him, but I think they finished second by default.
That's fair enough. Aaron Foster likes the move, even if he can only play half the season. I think he gives them some versatility. I really don't like the back half of their defense. That's what's scaring me away. Devontae Parker, we'll see if he can develop. But outside of Jarvis Landry, I just don't see how they score a ton of points.
So we both have the Pats winning this division fairly easily.
Yes.
To the AFC North.
The North, I think this is a similar division, only instead of a one-team scenario, I think it's a two-team race, and it's the Steelers and the Bengals. I think I'm going to lean with the Cincinnati Bengals to take the North this year, and mainly because of the Steelers' suspension injury issues already, and it seems like they are the team that always has to deal with injury issues. So for that reason, I'm leaning Cincinnati and their total. I have it at 9.5. Correct me if that's wrong.
That is correct.
But I lean the over with them.
I would also lean Cincinnati in that two-team race. Nothing Pittsburgh did in this offseason, aside from the suspension and injuries, to improve the defense in my mind. Cincinnati was an idiot play away from moving on in the playoffs. With A.J. McCarron, I don't think they've done anything to take a step back. I actually think they've improved their wide receiver core with Tyler Boyd.
Love Tyler Boyd.
They've survived the scare with A.J. Green. It appears in the early preseason. I think their schedule sets up a little bit better than what Pittsburgh has in front of them. So I also agree with the Bengals winning this division.
To talk a little bit more about the Steelers, I would lean under the 10.5. They clearly have the best weapon in the league in Antonio Brown. Maybe the second best weapon in the league in Le'Veon Bell when he's healthy, but he has not proven to me yet that he can play a full season. They'll get him back week 4, so we'll see. Would be nice to see a receiver opposite of Antonio Brown, but like we said, suspended for the year. Martavius Bryant, that would have been a nice compliment, but he will not be playing. Don't love their offensive line either, so if they sustain an injury like they normally do on that in that part of their team, that could be a problem. And like you said, their defense, don't think they upgraded any position. And to me, their linebackers are getting older and slower. And in the NFL, if you don't have linebackers that can play in space or cover somebody out of the backfield, I think that's a big, big problem. So I lean out the Steelers under.
Yeah, 10.5 is way too many. That's the over-under I'm looking at. I think it's also under. To piggyback on the defense a little bit more, Bud Dupree placed on the injured reserve. I believe he could come back in Week 8 based on the injured reserve they put him on. So the defense takes a hit with that. I don't even know if this could be serious as I ask this. Can Baltimore or Cleveland do anything in this division?
Baltimore, my hatred for them probably jades my opinion. I do think that they're kind of flying under the radar. They could be a sneaky, depending on what line you have, they might be a sneaky overplay. I think they could get to 9-7. They get some key people back on defense. They have some young guys I like on that side of the ball. Kenneth Dixon, rookie, out for 4 weeks with a partially torn MCL. He was supposedly going to bring a big spark to the offense, but we'll see how that pans out. Don't love Justin Forsett or Terrence West. To me, the problem with the Ravens is they don't have any playmakers on the outside. Kamar Pickens a nice player, especially if you're into the fantasy football. He can do some things. Steve Smith, man, coming off an Achilles injury at age 37, I think now, if he can do anything, good for him. But Joe Flacco, elite, not elite. Doesn't have the weapons this year. Don't think he'll have a great year. I just don't see them being able to score enough points to get to the 10-win mark and kind of challenge. But I think their schedule does set up to where they could sneak 9 wins out, but I see them more as an 8-8 team.
Yeah, I see 7-9, 8-8 written all over this team. No dynamic playmakers on offense. John Harbaugh, I do think, is a good coach, and he'll probably get a little bit more out of them than what I expect. But I think this is 8-8 at best for them. I have the over/under at 8.5. I don't love anything on either side. I guess I would lean under, if anything.
Yep, me too.
And then the Cleveland Browns at 4.5. I do think Hugh Jackson may be a good hire, but they're still 2 or 3 years away. Give me your thoughts on the quarterback.
He is what he is. He can't read a defense. He's got a cannon for an arm, and he can be very accurate when he gets time and he's confident. Proved that his rookie year. People think his rookie year, he just ran the ball a ton, and he did gain a ton of yards on the ground, but he did have one of the highest completion percentages in the league. So people forget he was a very accurate pocket passer then, too. I just think his confidence has been beaten up and killed again. I don't think you can ever get that back to what it was. I think he's fragile, and I don't love the people around him for what he does. I do like Terry Pryor and Josh Gordon on the outside. Just not sure that Robert Griffin is the guy to get them the ball. Defensively, I think they're weak. I do love Hugh Jackson as a coach, so I agree with you. I think they're 2 or 3 years away. I have written down frisky team late in the season. I think they could pick off an upset or two come November, December with teams taking them lightly, especially if their backup quarterback McNown is playing.
I do agree. I think they'll play hard for Hugh Jackson late in the year. This is my play in the division. Browns under 4.5. Will you root for Robert Griffin to succeed?
No, I do not like him personally. I think he's a petulant child, so I could care less if he succeeds or not. He's got his money. He just left his wife after she had a kid the other day for a younger, hotter blonde, so not a big fan. I know some people are into that, but not me. I agree with you. I lean the under, and I think they might have the first pick in the draft come April or May, whatever it is now in Philadelphia.
Is that your play in the division?
My play in this division is the Bengals over 9.5.
Any coaches on the hot seat in this division?
Well, since I just said Bengals over 9.5, that should take Marvin Lewis off the hot seat. But if they make the playoffs and lose again, man, tough to keep a guy that's been there for 13 years and hasn't won a playoff game.
Yeah, if anybody, it has to be him. But I think all 4 are safe.
I think so, but he would be the guy that might get the axe if they don't win a playoff game.
To the AFC South, which was the toughest division for me to break down. You give me your thoughts first.
I think there are some teams on the rise and a team on the decline in this division. This division reminds me of the NFC East of last year, where everyone is just going to be average. But I think, especially Houston, Jacksonville, and Tennessee, that they are finally starting to infuse some talent into this division. I had a hard time, like you, picking a winner because I'm not really sure what to expect from any of these teams. So this might shock you, but I'm going to take the Houston Texans to win this division, despite how scary their offensive line is. I think Osweiler will be okay under Kubiak. I don't think he'll be great. But really, I'm picking them because I love Hopkins. I love their rookie, Will Fuller. I love Lamar Miller. And, I don't like J.J. Watt personally, but he's awesome and he's a game wrecker. I think this is the year that Jadeveon Clowney stays healthy and he finally turns into something that resembles the top pick in the draft a couple years ago. So I'm going Houston Texans in the AFC South.
Houston Texans are sentimental for us. They made us a lot of money last year. Let me ask this. Is Brock Osweiler that big of an upgrade over Brian Hoyer?
I think he is an upgrade. I don't think he's that big of an upgrade. I think he has a different set of skills, especially help Fuller and Hopkins. I think Hoyer had problems pushing the ball down the field, and I think you can really use the weapons that they have to your benefit with a bigger armed quarterback, which Osweiler is. So I don't think he's a huge upgrade, but I think he's somewhat of an upgrade.
Osweiler can't ask for anything more with the weapons he's surrounded with and with Bill O'Brien. I'm a huge Bill O'Brien fan. Based on the weapons, I think you have to go Texans in this division. Although I had a tough time. I know everybody's buying in, which kept me away. I had a tough time picking them over the Jaguars.
I want to take the Jags. I actually lean the under for their 7.5. I think they're a year away. I know I've said this stat before, but Bortles led the league and dropped interceptions last year, so I think you'll see a little bit of regression from him. I do like the signing of Chris Ivory. I think that takes some of the pressure off T.J. Yeldon, who I don't think is a three-down back. So I like the combo of Ivory and Yeldon. Allen Robinson obviously stepped into his own last year, and he's a star. My question is, can that defense take the next step under Gus Bradley and become sort of an every other game, every 3 games dominant force? I'm not sure they're there yet, so I'm not totally buying the Jags this year.
They get Dante Fowler back, their first-round pick from last year. They added Jalen Ramsey and Miles Jack to the defense. I do think the defense is a year away from being really good.
Yes.
But I do think they may have the best defense in the division.
I think they have the most talented defense in the division. I think Houston's defense is probably a little more ready to be good. They've proven it before. I don't love Houston's secondary at all, so I'll put that out there. I think they have some young guys that can play, especially at corner. I think they're going to be better than they were last year. I still don't know if they're going to be great. But like you said, those 3 guys you mentioned for Jacksonville, Jack, Ramsey, and Fowler, they're all basically rookies. Fowler didn't play last year, so I think they need a year to develop.
I think the over 7.5 is a little. The 7.5 is a little high for my taste. I would stay away from that.
I see them being a 7-19. That's why I kind of like the under there.
My favorite over-under in the division is the Indianapolis Colts under 9.
I am with you. I don't get the love. I know Colin Cowherd loves the Colts this year. He thinks they're going to win 11 games. But what did they do in the offseason to get better? I think they got worse. I like Moncrief on the outside. I think him and Hilton provide a nice tandem. But I'm not sure Andrew Luck's ever going to have time to throw the ball. I think their offensive line got worse, which I didn't know was possible. Frank Gore got a year older. Still a nice player, but doesn't really provide any explosion out of the backfield. Can block, can catch some passes, but he doesn't really scare you. And the defense is what it's always been, not very good. So I'm with you.
You said it exactly how I would have put it. They definitely did not upgrade any position. Andrew Luck's still going to take a ton of shots. The schedule is a little worrisome to me in taking the under. They get the NFC North, which shouldn't be that strong aside from Green Bay, and who knows what Minnesota will be without Bridgewater. But Detroit and Chicago are winnable games. The AFC South is not that strong, so the under does worry me a little bit, but the lack of upgrades, I would take the under.
I don't understand. I think it's a GM problem. Their draft picks have been really bad. Obviously, Andrew Luck was an easy choice, so I kind of throw that away. Don't love the Philip Dorsett pick, and I feel like they haven't drafted a good defensive player since Bob Sanders.
Yeah, we probably touched upon it last year. I think Bill Polian did a pretty good job there, but drafted anybody defensively for Peyton Manning, and that trend has continued with Grigson.
And another note for the Colts on defense, Vontae Davis out for at least the first 3 weeks with ankle ligament damage, which in my experience, I've seen players sit out a lot longer than what their initial diagnosis is. So they're losing their best player on defense right off the bat for the first 3 games.
While Tundra Dan is rowing the boat with the Western Michigan Broncos, he took a shot at me taking the Penn State under. Well, it's going to be Colts under, Tundra Dan.
I like that revenge. I like what you did there.
Thoughts on the Titans this year?
I'm on the Titans. I like where they're headed. I still think they're a year or 2 away, but I love the style that they're going to play this year. They're going to just pound it down your throat, and when you stop it once, they're going to keep trying it and pounding it again. So far, the Henry-Murray combo looks really good to me. Derrick Henry looks like he's going to break out of that Alabama running backs or bad mold. He just looks really good so far. Mariota, I like. I don't love what they put around him receiver-wise. They cut Justin Hunter, who I thought was their most athletic receiver on the outside the other day. So I'm not sure really where they're going to go receiver-wise. I think they're going to have trouble playing games from behind. I don't think their defense is there yet to really keep them in every game. So I think they'll lose a lot of games once they get behind early. The over-under is 6, I think.
I'm seeing 5.5.
5.5 is, probably right where I see them, 5 or 6 wins. So I struggle to take an over-under there, but I like where they're going as a team.
I saw that the Titans are plus 800 for the division. This division is...
I think that's worth a few sprinkles of fish food for sure.
Oh, I completely agree. This is how they open the year. Minnesota at home with who knows who's playing quarterback for them right now.
Winnable game.
At Detroit.
Winnable game.
Oakland at home.
I like Oakland a lot, but still a winnable game.
Houston at Houston. But Houston will be coming off a game against New England.
Yeah.
At Miami.
Winnable game.
Cleveland at home.
A win.
Indianapolis at home.
Winnable game.
Jacksonville at home.
Winnable game.
At San Diego.
The hardest of the bunch probably, but still a winnable game.
Packers at home is probably a loss. At Indy, at Chicago.
I can see them winning one of those 2.
Bye. Then they go Denver at home, which will probably be tough. At Kansas City, at Jacksonville, tough. And then at Houston at home to end the year. If they could get off to...
end of the schedule, but, man, that is worth a sprinkle on division win. And I think it's worth a mention, since the over-under is 5.5, I believe we set the law of the wagon. You have to have a team with a less than over-under 7 win total, so they would fit that criteria.
The Titans are in the mix for the wagon. Stay tuned for the wagon selection at the end. Last year's wagon was the Raiders, which delivered on the over-under and now is poised to compete for the division. We'll move to that AFC West. Give me your thoughts.
Kind of a change from the last 10 years where the Chargers and Broncos were the better teams. Now it seems like the Chiefs and the Raiders are the favorites this year. This is a hard division to figure out because of the Denver quarterback situation. Obviously, they are the best team with a competent quarterback, but having never seen Trevor Siemian play, I'm just not sure what to think. The Broncos scare me because they are a big injury away from imploding, I think. I don't love the inconsistencies of the run game. Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, obviously great weapons. I like the tight end, Virgil Green, but tough to like the weapons if you don't have a quarterback. I think they get knocked off the perch this year. I'm not 100% confident in saying it's going to be Kansas City or Oakland. But with Kansas City's 2 best players coming off injuries, one of them's not playing until week 6 at the earliest in Justin Houston. Jamal Charles also being the one hurt. I'm going with the Oakland Raiders to win the division. I'm going with the talent. They have the most talent, maybe the most talent in the league. And I think, while probably being 1 year away from being an AFC contender, I think they could sneak this division this year.
The Wagon from last year is always going to have a special place in my heart. Another team that made us a ton of cash. I think they're a year away.
That's fair.
I'm sticking with my new ex-lover, Andrew J. Reed, as Coach of the Year. They win this division, and I think they may even be the number 1 overall seed in the AFC.
I love that you went back to your ex.
I love Andy Reid.
He's done a great job in Kansas City. I think people forget how bad they were 5 years ago.
This also takes me back to your point on Denver. I watched through the Andy years and how quickly a window could close on your opportunities to win a Super Bowl. Denver going into the year with Trevor Siemian, why not go out and re-sign Osweiler to a 2-3 year deal? Go out, get Bradford. Even Fitzpatrick is an upgrade over Trevor Siemian. Your window's only so big. You're poised to win another Super Bowl with the setup you have. I don't get it.
Totally agree. Your window is right now, clearly. You just won a Super Bowl. Your stars are in the prime of their career, and the primes usually only last for 3 or 4 years. Vaughn Miller, Demaryius Thomas, Chris Harris, Keith Talib, mainly. I don't understand it. I think John Elway should be getting crushed for it. He made a huge blunder. I'm not saying Osweiler is very good, but he made a gamble and he lost. And I think you could have had Fitzpatrick for, I want to say, $15 million. You probably would have gone for. Huge upgrade over what you had in Siemian. At least it looks like it on paper. Bradford, clearly you could have had for a first rounder next year, which would have been in the late 20s at worst, and give you another chance to repeat. Don't understand it at all. Why are you playing for 5 years down the line when your window is the next 2-3 years?
For the first time in a long time, this division is going to be really fun to watch. I'm excited to see Derek Carr, to see if he takes another step. His quarterback coach did leave for Philly, John DeFilippo. But I'm excited to see what Cooper can do. I'm excited to watch Khalil Mack. But I want to see the Raiders move to Vegas next year, and I think next year will be the year they win the division.
That's fair. I know I've loved them for 2 years now. I said last year how much I love their talent. Cooper Crabtree's a great combo. Murray Washington in the backfield I think is going to be fun to watch. Carr, obviously. Khalil Mack might win Defensive Player of the Year. Their weakness is probably in the secondary, and that's probably what is going to be their downfall. But I still love them.
The one guy that they did get to address some of their secondary is a guy we loved in the draft, and Carl Joseph from West Virginia, the strong safety. And I also love the Shalik Calhoun pick from Michigan State, which should help the defense as well.
Loved Carl Joseph. Really wanted Washington to get him. Smaller stature safety, but he can really move, and he loves to come thump people in the box. So, perfect fit for Oakland.
Thoughts on the San Diego Chargers?
I was tempted by the over here. I think it's a little too low. They're getting a lot of guys back. Danny Woodhead, Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen's going to have a huge year, especially fantasy football-wise, PPR leagues. Same with Danny Woodhead. I think Melvin Gordon, disappointing rookie year. I think his knee was bothering him. He had microfracture surgery. He looked really good in the preseason. I think you'll see him take a step forward. I like their corner combo with Flowers and Jason Verrett. I think they're going to be really good. I think Verrett's one of the more underrated corners in the league. Ingram on the defensive line is good. I don't like the loss of Eric Weddle, basically the team captain. I don't love him leaving. I think this is another 7-9, 8-8 team written all over it, but we'll fight every game.
The division's too tough for me to go over the 7.5. I think if anybody, Mike McCoy would be on the hot seat here. One side note, I wish the Chargers would just leave San Diego. I'm so sick of hearing about are they going to leave, are they going to stay. Every time you turn on Deadspin during the season, there's scumbags outside the stadium stabbing each other, shooting each other. I am so sick of the San Diego Chargers. Just leave San Diego. I think they should move to Montana. I think they should hire Mike.
Here's one. What about Oklahoma City? Philip Rivers would fit right in, and the city would fill that stadium every game.
Hire Bob Stoops. Bring in Les Miles to run the offense. Mike Smith to run the defense. Norv Turner as the GM.
I'm all in.
How great would that be?
I'm all in.
So I would lean under the 7.5. I hate going against our boy Phil Rivers. I do. My play in this division would be Broncos under 9.
I have written down no play in this division. I think there's too much parity. I don't love the lines that Vegas has set. I think they're all pretty sharp. So I do not like anything in this division.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't. The Broncos would probably be my least favorite of all the divisions.
Yep.
To the NFC West, we'll save the East for last. Actually, yeah, we'll do the NFC and then we'll come back and do the playoffs.
Okay.
So the NFC West should be another fun one to watch this year.
The NFC West reminds me of the AFC North. Two-team division with two kind of bottom feeders. Arizona, Seattle, obviously, are the two teams. I'm going to lean Seattle just because I love their home field advantage. I think they get back to their dominance at home field. I like even though Marshawn Lynch is retired, I don't think they lose much at running back with Christian Michael, Thomas Rawls, and I love their rookie, C.J. Prosise. I think he works his way into the mix later in the season. Another year under the belt for Tyler Lockett. I think he'll step forward with Doug Baldwin this season. And, been a Russell Wilson hater for years, but the guy just makes plays. So I am leaning over the 10.5 with Seattle, and I like them to win the West.
I'm also on Seattle. I don't love some of the offseason moves. I don't think they improved that much. But I'm with you on Russell Wilson. The guy wins. He knows how to make plays. They do have the best home field. I love Pete Carroll. And I think...
You love Tom Cable.
I do love Tom Cable. I forgot about him. I do think Carson Palmer takes a step back in Arizona.
Agree.
I don't love the situation in Arizona. I think with the wide receivers, I think Larry Fitzgerald will not have another year like he did last year. I do like Floyd and I like Brown, but I don't know if it's enough. David Johnson should take some of the burden off of Carson Palmer, but I think they overachieved last year and they take a step back this year.
I don't know what their over-under is. I've seen 10.5 and 10.
I'm seeing 10.
I think you're getting a pretty freebie game one with the pass without Brady, so it kind of knocks the total down to 9 or 9.5, which, if you think they're going to be 10 and 6, which I think is reasonable, that's, kind of a logical play to me. I agree with you. I think they take a step back with Palmer and Fitzgerald. Michael Floyd has trouble staying healthy. I do like David Johnson a lot. And obviously I love the combo of Pat Pete at corner and the Honey Badger roaming around playing everywhere.
They got a boomer bust in the draft with Kemdichi. That could be a big pass rusher for them if he can stay healthy.
They did acquire Chandler Jones, too, from New England. I think that was a really smart move. I think they see their window is now, so they don't mind giving up that late first-round pick. I think that was a really solid move by them as well.
My under in the division would be the LA Rams at 7.5. I hate Jeff Fisher.
I am shocked that it's 7.5. I know they have some really good defensive players. Love Robert Quinn. Don't love their secondary a ton. And I hate their combination of quarterback and playmakers. I think it's the worst in the league. Obviously, Todd Gurley, maybe the best running back in the league, but he might die on the field this year from overuse. I can't stand their playmakers. I think they struggle scoring. They probably pull an upset off somewhere like they always do. But I'm with you. I love the under 7.5.
The other thing, which I found interesting, I read an article about Jared Goff. He played in a system similar to what Baylor does, and we've seen some of the struggles Robert Griffin has in reading the defense. Obviously, a fantastic arm, but struggled to read the defense. We've seen Bryce Petty struggle at the Jets. I don't know if Goff is going to make it in this league.
He's got all the tools. It's all about the mind, I think. He's never been really in a huddle, and he's never had to formalize the long cadences that are required to in the NFL. I think it's going to take him 3 or 4 years to do anything. I think he makes it as a starter at some point. Not sure he ever makes it to number 1 pick status, but, Case Keenum's there. I don't mind Sean Mannion, their second-string quarterback. I think he should have gotten the shot. But I think just, because of the situation, he's going to get a shot at some point. And I think he probably does enough to keep a job for a couple of years, but never makes it.
The other thing is moving to L.A. is going to be a little bit of a distraction. They also have to go to London for one of their home games, which is a pretty far trek from L.A. So that's one of my favorite plays in all of the league is the under Rams 7.5. Somehow, some way, Jeff Fisher finds a way to keep his job, as always. And then the last team in the division, the 49ers, will be terrible.
I went through their roster, and if Chip can somehow get them to average more than 17 points, Chip Kelly's a genius. That's where I'm at. Because Carlos Hyde, decent piece. If he can stay healthy, he's already had a few concussions in his young career. But good Lord, they have nobody else in that roster that can play football.
I can't name the wide receiver on their team right now.
Torrey Smith, who's the most overrated player in the league, and I've said it since he was at University of Maryland. The guy can only run one route. And even that route, he only can catch the ball half the time it hits him in his hands.
I love Navarro Bowman, but that defense is going to be on the field a lot, I think. And add to the fact that Chip Kelly runs the up-tempo, there might be 11 guys dead on the defense by week 10.
It's not the youngest defense, especially at some of the key spots. I feel terrible for Navarro Bowman that he's going to end his career this way. He's had a great career, underrated career. But, God, they're just going to be on the field the whole season, like you said.
5.5. Would you go under 5.5?
Yeah, I think they get 3 or 4 wins. I wouldn't love it, but you got 4 automatic losses in that division with Arizona and Seattle, I think.
Who's worse, them or the Browns?
I think San Francisco's got worse talent across the board. I think the Browns actually have a couple pieces. Obviously, Josh Gordon's a piece. Terry Pryor's looked pretty good. I don't mind Isaiah Crowell, Duke Johnson, a running back. There's not more than Carlos Hyde I like on San Francisco. Maybe Navarro Bowman, even though he's getting up there. I think I like Cleveland more than I like San Francisco.
How many years? Over under 3 years, Chip Kelly.
So I think San Francisco is going to have the first or second pick. I think it depends if he can get a quarterback that he likes. If he does, you never know. I think the over-under should be over-under 15.5 former Oregon Duck players on the roster by next season.
That's an easy over. Vegas has already moved it to 19.
It's crazy to me that there were some people warning NFL executives that if Chip Kelly took an NFL job, he would bring his own guys in just like Steve Spurrier did with Florida kids to the Washington Bravehearts. And it has come to fruition.
I thought Chip was the Messiah after year 1. He proved to be a false Messiah. I thought that he was a great X and O guy, but everything came to fruition. The week last year, after the bye week, they played Dallas on a Sunday night, and he made 0 adjustments. The same exact plays. That's when I knew that he was the false Messiah.
Yeah, it's shocking how that that happened over and over. I remember watching them against the Redskins. They had success early on, and then the Redskins made some adjustments, and they just kept running the same 6 plays over and over, and Chip just kept calling them.
To the NFC South.
The NFC South, where the Carolina Panthers are your defending champions, and I think they are going to repeat, but I would not be surprised if they take a little bit of a step back, just because I think everything fell their way last year. They didn't get hit by the injury bug during the season very much. I bet against Carolina almost every week last week and lost a lot, so who knows where this is going. I think they repeat in the division kind of just by default with the other teams. But I think I don't love the over here. I think they go 10-6-ish.
Tell me just stop me as I go through the schedule. Tell me the game that they're not favored in. At Denver, they're the favorite. San Fran at home. Minnesota at home. At Atlanta. Tampa at home. At New Orleans. Bye week. Arizona at home.
I think the at New Orleans, it depends what the Saints' record is. I can see them being a small underdog there.
Okay, so if it's not the Arizona game, then at Rams, Kansas City at home, New Orleans at home, at Oakland, at Seattle.
At Seattle, definitely.
It might not be till December 4th, the first time they're not a favorite.
I see what you're saying.
I mean, they went 14-2 last year. We picked against them every single week. I do think they have to take a little bit of a step back, but I don't think anybody in that division improved that much for them to go that far back.
No, you're right. And they'll be favored in 13 or 14 games. You're right. You're exactly right.
Do you buy in?
No, maybe it's just I just disliked them for no reason.
I mean, they probably, I'd have to go back and watch the games, but they probably got a lot of breaks last year, which they probably won't get this year. Their defense is going to be good. I'm not really buying into the Super Bowl hangover, even though it's happened a lot of times. I lived through it. I had to watch Mike McMahon the year after the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. But I'm not buying into it with Carolina.
So you like the over?
I would lean over. I don't know if it's my favorite play in the division, though.
Well, speaking of the division, the only other team I like is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they are sort of like the Raiders of the East to me, where I think they are loaded with talent, but I still think they're a year or two away. Love Jameis Winston. Love what I've seen from him. I think he's going to be really good. And I think this is the year that Mike Evans absolutely breaks out and destroys the league.
I do also like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I love that they brought Dirk Cutter in. I think that gives them an extra win. Just getting rid of Lovie Smith.
Yes.
I don't know if they have enough to compete with Carolina this year, though.
No, I don't think they can compete with Carolina and for the division. I love the trio: Jameis, Mike Evans, Doug Martin. Vincent Jackson's getting a little older. I wish they had some speed opposite of Mike Evans, a kind of a burner downfield. Hopefully, Jenkins can stay healthy at tight end, but I love his talent and his athletic ability, but he cannot stay on the field. Defense is where I have the questions, especially in the secondary, especially at safety. So I don't think they can compete in the division, but I think they're over under 7, I want to say, which is a manageable number.
Yeah, 7.
So maybe a nibble on the 8-8 there. I can see that happening.
I think they have an under-the-radar defensive rookie of the year in Noah Spence.
Love that call. Forgot they got Noah Spence. They stole him in the second round. I thought he was going to be a top 12 pick until he got kicked out of Ohio State.
Thoughts on New Orleans?
I think Brandon Cooks has a huge year. Wouldn't be shocked to see him be a top 5-ish wide receiver, especially in fantasy football. Mark Ingram has turned into a pretty decent player. He never never stays healthy, though. He always seems to miss a game or two. You know my thoughts on Drew Brees, very productive player. He seems to win games at home, but they just always struggle on the road. I think their defense is atrocious. Thank God they got rid of Rob Ryan, so maybe they'll improve just by his subtraction. But I don't love them this year. I think they are a 6-10-ish team, which might shock some people. I just don't. I think they're going to lose a lot on the road. I don't think they're tough, and especially a team like Carolina, I don't think they have the physicality to hang with them.
Yeah, they would probably be my play in the division at under 7.5 if I had to make one.
I would agree. I like that as well.
They did nothing to improve that defense, which was basically shouldn't have even played on the field. They might have done better. Sean Payton, he's been very different. I don't think he's been the same since he had that suspension for a year. I think their window's done. I think it's time to move on from both. I think Peyton needs a change of scenery, and I think Breeze needs to either retire or go somewhere else for 1 or 2 years, and the Saints need to start over.
This is McNabb and Andy Reid to me all over again.
Yes, agreed.
Totally agree.
The Mike Smith Falcons. I wish he was still there.
Mike Smith.
I wish he was still there.
I have no feel for this team. I like the addition of Mohamed Sanu across from Julio, even though they probably overpaid him. I think that's a nice compliment, though. Never liked Matt Ryan. I think Devontae Freeman takes a step back this year. The question for me is on defense. Trufant at corner is really good. I don't know if they have a pass rush, though, and I don't think you can compete in this league without a pass rush.
I agree. Every time I look at this team, no matter what year it is, it seems 8-8-ish.
I agree, and I've said this, I think I've said it to you before. I don't love Matt Ryan, but I think this is a scenario where once Tony Gonzalez retired, he's really struggled outside of Julio Jones. And I think this is one of those scenarios where he's going to move on in a few years and might have success somewhere else.
Can you win a Super Bowl with Matt Ryan?
I think you probably can. I think if Matt Ryan had played for Denver last year, they'd win the Super Bowl a little bit easier, actually.
So you need to have a great defense to win with Matt Ryan?
I think you got to have a running game and a defense. You know, it helps every quarterback. I don't think Matt Ryan can win you a Super Bowl by himself.
So your play in this division would be Saints under?
Saints under would definitely be my play.
And we both agree on the Panthers.
Yes.
To the NFC North, which really got interesting about a week ago with Bridgewater going down.
Yeah, then they give up a first and a fourth for Sammy Bradford. I think that's giving up a lot, but obviously they believe their window is now. Hard to argue with Peterson being 30 or 31. I need an updated line for Minnesota. I have their Bridgewater line still.
What was the Bridgewater line?
8.5.
It hasn't moved.
Okay, so I kind of agree it's the same thing. Sam and Teddy are about the same player. Really like Minnesota's defense. I like their running game. Really like Stephon Diggs, but I'm not sure they have enough offense to put them over the top. I think they can turn some heads, though. But clearly this is the Packers division in my mind. Getting Jordy Nelson back, Randall Cobb on the outside, Eddie Lacy, new trim Eddie Lacy. Still some questions on defense. Don't love their defense, but I think Aaron Rodgers has a big year. I think the Packers win this division.
I think you have to go Packers, but I cannot stand that Mike McCarthy is still the coach of this team.
Never seems to get any criticism. It's kind of weird.
Aaron Rodgers probably has saved his job numerous times. I just see another year that they go 11-5, 12-4, and lose a game in the playoffs because of some stupid thing he does.
I don't disagree. I actually wouldn't mind them hiring a defensive head coach really focusing on revamping the D and just hire, a specialist offensive coordinator that likes to move the ball up and down the field.
Yeah, I don't think you could go against the Packers with. I hate the Minnesota quarterback situation. I got to see Sam Bradford up close and personal last year, and that was enough.
Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater was probably both of our hesitations even before the injury. I really like the pieces around them, but I don't think they can score enough to compete. Moving on to Detroit, Matthew Stafford loses Calvin Johnson. He gets Jim Bob Cooter, though. Golden Tate, Marvin Jones on the outside. Okay, I guess. What I really, really hate about the Lions is that they force Stafford to throw it 60 times a game. He's going to make some mistakes. He's going to take some shots. Amir Abdullah has some skills, but he's been plagued by fumbles and injuries. And then backing him up is Theo Riddick, who is more of a third down scat back. He's not really going to get many carries. They just have no balance on offense. So 6-10 again for the Lions, it looks like.
Over under at 7. I agree. I think they've wasted Stafford. Never got him a running back. Never really improved the offensive line.
No.
I think when they got him, they had too much to do to build the defense and never really got to address the other issues. I almost think that they could trade Matt Stafford right now, or should trade.
I think they should definitely go into total rebuilding mode. It was Ndamukong Suh, Nick Fairley picks, and then they both left, and they basically shot 2 years of rebuilding down the drain. I agree. I think you get what you can for Stafford now, because I'm sure some teams will still give up pretty high picks for him. If you can get a first and a fourth for Bradford, man, gotta think you get a first and a second for Stafford.
I would think so.
Maybe even 2 firsts, spread them out into different years. I think that's pretty fair.
Bears, thoughts?
Dumpster fire. I mean, I think their defensive line will be improved. I will say that. I like Alshon Jeffrey. You were totally right about him in the draft. He's had a little bit of an issue the last year staying healthy. Kevin White looks to be a disaster opposite of him. Jay Cutler without Adam Gates, your boy. Think he's going to regress. Running back situation, losing Matt Forte. Don't love Jeremy Langford coming in there. He'll probably put up some decent numbers just because of the workload, but man, there's not a lot to like about this team, I don't think.
No, this is my play, the under 7.5. I think Jay Cutler takes a step back. He's got to learn a new offense. I thought Gase did as good of a job as you could with Jay Cutler.
Yep.
As you mentioned, Kevin White not catching on. Jeffrey probably will deal with injury issues all year. I don't like anything about this Bears team.
I am torn whether to like the under 7.5 with Chicago or the over. I think it's 10.5 with Green Bay because the division is so bad. I think Green Bay gets some easy wins on the board. You know, they kind of just have to win a few games or they're out of division. I like them both, so pick your poison.
Early bye date for Green Bay in Week 4. Does that hurt them?
That is a little early. I think that does hurt their defense. They have smaller players on D, Peppers and Matthews especially. I don't love their D-line. I think they're going to struggle to get pressure on quarterbacks. I think that does hurt them a little bit now that you say that. I didn't realize it was so early, so I guess I would lean the Bears under then. 7.5 is way too many in Chicago.
And lastly, to our division, the NFC East.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I feel like a homer here. I really tried to pick somebody else, but I'm going with the Bravehearts again. I like Kirk Cousins. I take him on board. I like that they gave him a prove-it franchise tag year. He looks good to me. He's going to make the 5 or 6 really dumb decisions a game, and we just got to hope that 4 of them hit the ground and maybe one of them gets picked off only. It's not a pick 6. But Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon, Jordan Reed. I like his weapons. I love their rookie, Josh Stockton, if he can ever get healthy. I think he's going to be really good. People probably have never heard of Jamison Crowder, wide receiver from Duke. Had a pretty good rookie year last year. The kid just gets open. He's tough. He never drops the ball. Love Jamison Crowder. Next year, wouldn't be shocked to see your starting wide receivers for Washington be Josh Stockton and Jamison Crowder. The run game worries me. The right side of the line worries me. The center position worries me. I think the defense will be improved. The question mark will be pass rush. I think Kerrigan and Preston Smith, that'll be a name to watch. I think he's going to be really good. I think he gets double-digit sacks. And then obviously Josh Norman, big addition in the secondary. Their safeties still stink, but hopefully the combo of Breland and Norman take a little pressure off of them. I think they get to 9-7 and win the division at 9-7.
I can't disagree with you.
Wow, I don't like the consensus.
I same as you. I tried to find somebody else to pick. I don't think anybody else did enough in the offseason to sway me. Everybody has their weaknesses in this division, but I think the Hearts have the least amount of weaknesses. Dallas offensive line is probably the best unit in the whole division, but Prescott, I know how great everybody says he's looked as in the preseason, but defensive coordinators are paid to do a job, and they do it pretty well. He's going to be tested in his first game with Spagnuolo, who loves the blitz. Then I'll tell you how good Dak Prescott is.
I actually think he's going to have success week one with his legs against the blitz. But I totally agree. People are raving about him preseason. They play 4 defensive schemes in preseason. Cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, and a man. That's it. That's all they play. They don't. Defensive coordinators aren't going to do anything exotic in preseason. So I don't want to hear about, he looked off the safety and threw it to Dez. Yeah, because the safety's just standing there. He's not doing anything. He's not hiding his coverage.
Aside from injuries, take that out. If Washington doesn't win this division, why?
Yeah, it will be the offensive line cannot protect Kirk Cousins. He struggles when he does not get time to throw, just like every other quarterback in the history of the NFL, basically. If he starts getting hit a lot, he'll start making mistakes, and the right side of the line specifically really worries me. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball with much success. I think you'll see Gruden go to the short swing passes to Chris Thompson a lot if the run game isn't working early. So if they lose this division, it'll be because of that.
If the tight end Jordan Reed could stay healthy,
big if.
I think they have maybe the best weapons in the NFL.
Wow, that's a big statement.
With him, Deshaun Jackson's a game breaker. No matter what he does off the field, he's a game breaker. I like Doxson if he could stay healthy or get healthy. And then I absolutely love Jordan Reed.
Jordan Reed is an impossible matchup when he's on the field. He's similar to Gronk, where he's not as big as Gronk, but he's much faster, has really good hands. You just can't cover with one guy. And the guy I really like, just as a decoy, is Deshaun Jackson. You have to have 2 guys on him at all times, like you said. He's just too fast.
Is Cousins the quarterback there next year?
Yes.
Thoughts on Dallas?
I liked Dallas, obviously, to win the division. I thought they were going to go 11-5 with Romo. Clearly, things changed now that I think he'll be out at least 6 weeks. Back injury, similar to Tiger Woods. Don't love to hear a back on a 36-year-old quarterback. I think Zeke Elliott is awesome. I think he's going to have an awesome year. I think he steps right into the NFL, runs for 1,300 yards and 10 TDs. I think the worry that no one is talking about is Dez Bryant, that foot injury. That is not an injury that heals quickly. That is an injury that comes back a lot of times to nag players. And I think the biggest weakness for Dallas is their defense. I think they stink. They have no pass rush. Their secondary is weak. and their captain, Sean Lee, is already being treated for a sore knee.
I was going to ask you this question. What happens first? Sean Lee out for the year, Sam Bradford gets hurt, or James Jones is re-signed by the Green Bay Packers?
Oh, that's such a good one. I need odds, but I think because they're going to be on the field a little bit more, I think Sean Lee getting hurt or out for the year is the bet.
Is Jason Garrett on the hot seat, or did Romo save him another year?
I think that saves him. I think it has to. Rookie quarterback starting for you, I think, basically saves you from anything.
October 23rd, which would be Week 7, is their bye. They host Philly October 30th. Is Tony Romo the starting quarterback October 30th? Which would be Week 8.
Yes. Doesn't matter how well Dak Prescott plays either.
Thoughts on the New York Giants?
This is the team that I tried to fit in the round peg in the square hole. I've always been an Eli defender. I don't think he's ever had a good offensive line. He hasn't had a good running game since Tiki Barber. I hate their running game this year. Rashad Jennings might be okay, but Shane Vereen, Andre Williams, did he get cut yet? Guy can't do anything. Obviously, he's got one of the best weapons in the league in Odell. Maybe the best weapon, him and Antonio Brown. You can have an argument there. And I like their rookie, Sterling Shepard. But I think they're going to struggle defensively. New coach worries me a little bit. I like McAdoo, but, transition-wise, I think it's one of those schizophrenic years for the Giants where they win some big games and they lose some games they have no business losing. If Eli doesn't throw for 350 a game, I'm not sure how they win because their defense is soft again, like it has been.
Yeah.
So, 7-9, 8-8 again for me. Just they look like Atlanta.
I think everything you said is what I would have said about them. I think it's so overblown when people talk how great of a job their GM has done and how great their front office is. What was the year they won the Super Bowl? 2011. I don't think they've done anything since 2011. I don't even know if they made the playoffs since 2011.
I don't think they have. And if we're going down their roster, I guess I don't know who the GM was when they picked Justin Tuck. I guess you call that a win. JPP was a win for a while, and Odell Beckham has been a win. Eli, that was back in 2004, so that's kind of a throwaway, and he was almost a sure thing. What other picks have panned out? Prince Mukamura was okay. He's not on the team anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Defensively, they've been terrible. I thought they reached with Eli Apple this year. I do like the Sterling Shepard pick, but that's on the other side of the ball. Another team that did nothing to address their weakness.
Their line is bad every year. It's going to be bad again. Eli's going to have no time. They'll have some games where him and Odell explode, but I agree with you. I think their GM should actually be on the hot seat.
And then to the last place team in the division, the Philadelphia Eagles.
I can't talk about them first. I have to let you lead off with your team here. Only fair.
Well, Saturday made me a lot more excited for this year. I thought when Bradford was here, they'd be out of it. Week 10, I thought December 11th when they play Cincinnati on a Thursday night, I believe, and then they host Washington the week after. I thought that's when Wentz would come in when Bradford was here. Then when Bradford was traded, I thought they'd start him at Detroit after the bye week. In week 4, they have an early bye week. But he's going to go Sunday, so I'm excited for it. When I look at it on paper, it makes a little bit more sense. They get Cleveland and at Chicago in week 2. Probably can't ask for two better teams to start your career against. And with the Lane Johnson suspension looming, it appears he's going to play week 1. And then it's going to be a question mark from there on until they come up with a decision on his B sample. So the offensive line is going to be as strong as it's going to be all year. So I don't disagree with them going out there in week 1 when I look at it a little further. Defensively, they should be pretty good. There's going to be some games where they can't generate a pass rush, though, and those are the games where they're going to get blown out. I think they're going to try and play low-scoring games, try and run the ball a lot, keep the offense ahead of the chains and make it manageable for Wentz. I think Peterson will actually do a really good job scheming, similar to how Andy Reid was. I have question marks about his in-game management, similar to Andy Reid. So we'll see about that. I would be happy with any record as long as Wentz makes progress as the year goes on. And then next year will be the year. And then year 3, I think they'll be expected to compete for the division.
So a couple of questions. Is starting Carson Wentz kind of a twofold plan where you get the kid as much experience as possible, but also you keep your record down where you know you can get him a weapon early in the draft next year?
Well, they gave up a first rounder to get him, so they get their first rounder back, or they get Minnesota's first rounder.
Right.
So I guess you're hoping that Bradford gets hurt, and maybe you're picking in the late teens. They probably will have to go O-line with it, because I think Jason Peters is probably at the end. And now Lane Johnson, who knows what's going on with him. I think they probably have to try and get a tackle.
Interesting, because I don't think they have a ton of weapons.
They did free up almost $20 million by trading Bradford, so maybe they could go address a receiver. They probably, they need a number 1. I think Jordan Matthews is a pretty good number 2. Ertz is a pretty good tight end. Who knows what Dorial Green-Beckham is? Probably a pretty good 2. And I don't expect Nelson Aguilar to be anything.
Forgot about Aguilar.
I do like Matthews and Sproles, but Matthews can't stay healthy.
Here's my next question. What happened to Chase Daniel?
Horrific.
Is he that bad?
I watched him in preseason. He has no pocket presence. I think they obviously overpaid for him. I think he was brought here more to help the quarterbacks learn Peterson's system. From what I heard from Adam Schefter is Denver had significant discussions with Philly at the draft to get Bradford, but I don't believe a formal offer was made. At that time, they wanted to keep Bradford, so even if an offer was made, I don't know if they would have done it. But from what Schefter says, they really, really like what Carson Wentz has done in the preseason as far as practice and the reps that he got before his injury. So they were comfortable with him stepping right in, and also an indictment of Chase Daniel as well.
I mean, good for Chase Daniel. He's the highest paid tutor in the world, maybe.
That is correct.
I actually don't mind what I've seen from Wentz. I only saw a couple plays, but you got to think it's going to be tough for him to step right in day one from the level of competition that he was in college. Kind of made his hay just as much as a runner as he did a thrower at that level, and be successful in the NFL. But it looks like he might have a quarterback there, so he's just got to find some weapons.
He can make. It seems like from what I saw, he can make almost every throw. But you could tell even in the preseason that some of the blitzes got to him quicker than I think he thought they would.
Right.
So obviously, defensive coordinators are going to be throwing blitzes and different schemes at him, which is worrisome.
Yeah, I don't mind the Eagles making that decision. I think it was the right move, unless he was just totally overwhelmed in practice. I think if the guy looks okay, you just got to get him experience. The only way they're going to learn. So, what's successful this year? 5 wins?
The schedule's... The back end's a lot tougher than the front end. So hopefully by then he has enough experience that he can be serviceable towards the end. If he can stay healthy. I'm looking at 5 or 6 wins. I don't think the division's that great. And they get the AFC North, so Baltimore and Cleveland, they could probably compete in those games. So I'd say 5 or 6 wins would be a good year. But mostly I'm just hoping Wentz makes progress. And it'll be interesting to see what Doug Peterson does.
I agree. I think it's a successful season at 5 wins, even with a rookie head coach, rookie quarterback combo. I think it's tough to win with that, no matter how good your team is. Fletcher Cox, one of my favorite players in the league. I think he's going to have another huge year, even though he just got paid. So defense will probably be on the field a lot, even if they try to play keep away. So long season, I think it's expected, but I think they might upset a team or two down the line.
The one thing, I don't know if it's good or bad, as far as good for Wentz that he's shown so much progress, or bad for Daniel that he is terrible, is Howie Roseman and Peterson have now put themselves on the clock by starting Wentz day one.
Yeah, that's true. They must feel confident in it.
So they will probably be the last place team in this division unless Eli Manning goes down. But as long as Wentz shows progress, I'm okay with it.
Yes, that's all I think that the team wants. I think they know that this is sort of a throwaway year anyway.
I go Hearts over the 7.5 to win for the over/under total.
I like Washington to win the division, but my bet would be the Giants under here. I think I like them. I think there's 8 or 8.5. I like the under with the Giants.
8.5.
Yeah, I like the under there. I think Washington is an injury away from not reaching that, or a couple bad games away from not reaching the total. So I think the safer play is the Giants.
So we'll go back to the AFC. With the division winners we have are the Pats, the Bengals, and the Texans. You have the Raiders in the West, and I have the Chiefs. Give me your 2 wildcard teams.
This was hard. I went back and forth on this. I am going to go Steelers and the Andy Reids. So the defending champs missed the Super Bowl. Missed the playoffs. I
agree. I would have the Raiders and the Steelers. Your conference champ.
Oh, man. I'm going to stick to the good old boys and stay New England, taking the AFC.
I can't go against Tommy either.
I'm just in love with the guy, I guess.
NFC, we have the same across the board. Hearts, Packers, Panthers, Seahawks. Your wild cards.
I am going the Arizona Cardinals, and it was the Minnesota Vikings, but now I have crossed them out, and I'm going shocker special Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I thought I was going to shock you by saying the Bucks, but I also have Cards Bucks.
Wow, I like it. I want to take Minnesota, but I need to see Sam Bradford play before I make that decision.
Your conference champion.
Oh man, I think it's Green Bay and Seattle again, and I am leaning the Fighting Tommy Cables.
Well, we have the same. In the Super Bowl rematch from 2 years ago, Pats Seahawks, your Super Bowl champ.
I never bet against FU mode Tom Brady. I think Gronk, if he gets hurt, it's something like a knee sprain and he comes back to the playoffs. The X factor for me is Deion Lewis comes back for the last 6 weeks. Deion Lewis is a huge name come December and January. Tommy goes down in history as the best ever.
Tommy! MVP. Disregard the odds. Who do you think wins the MVP?
I am going Aaron Rodgers MVP, and he gets it slightly over Russell Wilson in a controversial decision.
Does Tommy have any chance to win it?
4 games is a lot. I think he does have a chance, and I think the odds on him, I know you don't have them in front of you, but I think the odds merit a little sprinkle or a dabble on that just because I think the FU mode is a big thing. But I think 4 games might be too much to overcome.
I'll go Russell Wilson. Coach of the year.
Oh, Coach of the year. This one was tough. I know where you're going already. I'm going to go Bill Belichick because I think he right to the ship when Tommy's not there. I think he gets credit for that finally. I'm going Bill Belichick, and I think the odds are actually pretty favorable for that, too.
I think it's pretty obvious where we're going. Lastly, the most important for the wagon. Teams under consideration this year would be Bears, Browns, Lions, Dolphins,
Nope.
Saints,
Nope.
Eagles,
Too close to home.
Chargers,
Possibility.
Niners,
Nope.
and it comes down to the last two, I think. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, man. I like them both this year. I think Tampa is probably the more ready team, so that is where I lean.
I think we have to go Tampa.
I agree. I want to say Tennessee, but I think they might be next year.
We've loved Jameis for a while now.
All aboard Mr. Crableg himself.
And just for the listeners' clarification, 2 years ago we had Carolina as our wagon team. Last year they go to the Super Bowl. Last year we had the Raiders. This year they're poised to win the division.
We also jumped on a team mid-season last year to win a division at long odds, and they made a run at it for us.
The Houston Texans.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Actually, I got one more.
Again this year.
One more thing for you.
Week 3 or 4, we'll pick a team that is in a basement, and we think they might make a run. We should try that again.
One more thing for you. Since we'll do the preview show for the weekend Friday. Thoughts on tomorrow night's game? Carolina -3 at the defending Super Bowl champs, the Denver Broncos.
Short number with a brand new, basically rookie quarterback for Denver. I know you've liked Carolina, but I think that is a smelly line. I don't like how short that is. It just feels tricky-dicky to me. I lean home team here.
The home team always seems to win this early, the opening Thursday night game, so it would keep me away from this game as well. I can't take Trevor Siemian over Cam Newton.
I know. It's hard. That place is going to be absolutely rocking, though.
Newton gets Kelvin Benjamin back to add to his weaponry. I would lean Carolina, but I don't love it.
This game to me is just one to sit back and watch. I'm not sure what you'd bet on in this game if you really had to bet on something, bet on the coin toss. I could see Cam struggling here. I just don't think this is a good spot for Carolina. I know they have revenge on their mind, but tough place to play against a great defense opening week. I don't love it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be a good one, though. And it's good to have the NFL back, certainly.
Yes.
Well, fantastic job by you. Awesome preview show. We'll be back Friday. I'll tweet out your golf pick since it starts tomorrow. And we'll have our college and NFL predictions and official picks Friday.
Tip of the cap to the host today. Well done, buddy.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man.
See you.